Hey, it's Alex, the divorce planner. I'm coming to you with another In Conversation with a Divorce Professional. Today, I'm going to be talking to forensic accountant Tracy Coenen. Tracy not only works with people going through a divorce, helping them find any hidden money, she's also the author of a great book that if you are really in search of like how to do this on your own, it's called Find Me the Money, Win the Money You Deserve in Your Divorce. And she's going to be joining us in a second. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining today's live. There she is. I'm going to get our guest on right now. And so, as you know, kind of chat for about 20 minutes. If you have a question for Tracy, please drop it in the comments below and I'll make sure to get to it. Otherwise, I've got a few basic questions. There she is. There she is. Hi, Tracy.
Hello, hello.
Hi. So I'm just letting everybody know that this conversation will live on. Hey, there's the book that I just talked about. I love it. I love it. This conversation will live on my Instagram page and in my blog afterwards. So if you missed anything, you have to jump off for a reason, you can drop a question now. I'll definitely get to it. We're going to talk about a couple of like more general, I have a couple general questions for Tracy, and then we can get into anything that you have. I got us. Tracy said, so excited. I'm so excited. This is the first time I get to talk to Tracy. And as I said, welcome. I just want to kind of give a little background, Tracy, if you don't mind. We'll tee you up a little bit, if you will. So Tracy Coenen is a nationally recognized CPA and forensic accountant. As a fraud investigator, she focuses on finding hidden money in divorce cases. After seeing how many spouses weren't forthcoming about all of their financial holdings, Tracy's mission became teaching you strategies to win every penny of the money you're entitled to in your divorce. And so with that, Tracy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. I always love a chance to answer questions for people and really create more awareness about this issue of the money in your divorce, because I see too many women walking away with money left on the table from assets that they're entitled to, from money that their husbands might be hiding. And so, guys, if you're out there listening, this is nothing against men. I just tend to mostly work with women, which is why I use that language. But, you know, finding money is for anyone who's going through divorce.
That's right. I love that you prefaced this conversation with that. Our information is available for anybody. And look, more often than not, a lot of my clients are women as well, but I don't discriminate. Anybody can take the information on either one of our pages and use it to their benefit, because that's the whole point, right? You want to get educated in advance of the divorce process, because the truth of the matter is you can't do a do-over in divorce, right? And especially if you have been a stay-at-home parent, you can't go back in later and say, wait a minute, I didn't know all of these things. I buried my head in the sand. You have to be proactive, which is what I love, quite frankly, Tracy, about the tone and tenor of your content as well as your book. It's like very much, you tell it like it is, you break things down into really easily understandable and great action items that anybody can implement on their own. With that, I kind of just want to dive into my first question, if that's okay.
You may. You may.
You ready? You ready? Okay, so it's kind of like a divorce 101 question. What does a forensic accountant do during a divorce?
Yep. I find money. So my time is spent looking at bank statements, credit card statements, investment account statements, tracing that money through the system and trying to figure out, is there anything that's missing? So typically I'm looking for, did someone transfer money to an account we never knew about? Did they take cash withdrawals either at an ATM machine or at a bank branch and we don't know what happened to that money? Were they spending money on improper things? Like, were they spending it on a credit card at a casino? You know, can we see some activity that might suggest that there was an affair going on? Things like that. So all of those types of things, I'm going through these statements and really tabulating for my clients exactly what the magnitude of the bad transactions is, the magnitude of that is, as well as what do we have questions about? We just want to understand where the family's money has been going.
Oh, I love that. And actually, I didn't realize that you were, I mean, I understood a forensic accountant, what forensic means, but you really are a detective, right? It's not just about, oh,
Yeah.
there's money missing. I had no idea that you actually comb through receipts. You file kind of reports to get access to transfers and such. And so how did you go from consulting to becoming the divorce money guide?
Well, a little over a year ago, I was ruminating on the fact that I get calls on a weekly basis, mostly from women who are saying, I have concerns. I think my husband is hiding money. I'm getting divorced now. And everyone is saying I need a forensic accountant. Well, the truth is that in 95% of divorces, you probably don't need a forensic accountant. And 95% of people going through divorce can't afford one. Divorce is expensive as it is. And so adding another cost down of $10,000 to $20,000 just isn't reasonable for most people. And so I said, you know, it really bugs me that there's nothing out there to help people. So when I have these conversations, I say, gosh, that's too bad. I wish there was something I could do to help you, but my services really aren't a match for what you need. And then that was the end of it. And so one day when I was in one of my coaching classes, where I'm coached with other entrepreneurs, I was saying it bothers me that there's nothing, and I don't understand why there isn't a resource out there to help people. And the light bulb went on. Why can't I make the resource? And so the Divorce Money Guide was born out of that, out of wanting to be able to show people, if you have concerns about the money, here's how you can get your arms around exactly what has been going on. Take that little deep dive into it on your own. You know your family spending. If you look at these transactions on a bank statement, you're going to have a pretty good feel for what's good and what's bad. I just need to show you where to look.
I love that. And you know, I'm so connected to what you're saying. It really resonates with me. What I love about connecting with other women in the divorce niche here on social media, other professionals, is the origin story tends to go back to something personal, which makes me really happy. Like, you and I have a very similar mission statement, which is, these are all the tools. Take it and do it on your own. If you want to hire us, go ahead, but at least you have the information. And I think that's incredibly generous. And I love that it's really kind of paying it forward in a way, right? It's also, it falls into the teach a person to fish rather than give a person to fish. It's like, once you have that knowledge, it can also kind of, it informs every decision that you make. And if you have a question, you can speak up, because during the divorce process, Tracy, you know, nobody's going to care about the details of your life like you are. So having this information and being walked through by you is just a game changer.
Well, that's just it. What happens is people go to their divorce attorneys and say, I think my spouse is hiding money, and I think there's some money missing. We should have had more in these accounts than we have. And the divorce attorney says, great, if you have some proof, let me know. And if you don't have the proof, that issue is just going to sit there. Your attorney is usually not motivated to go down that rabbit hole. They're not money experts. They don't know your family's money, and they have a lot of issues to deal with in that divorce. And unless you kind of push the issue, they're not going to go for it. And the way you push the issue is not with hysterics. It is with facts. I have these statements, and I have identified these 30 transactions that are for crap that I've never seen in our home, that are for things that look to me like an affair, that are transfers to accounts that I don't know anything about. These 30 transactions, we need to know where that money is. That is something your attorney can take action on.
I love it. And you know, we've talked about this, like what my mission is and what your mission is really fits hand in hand. We want to engage you as early as possible in the process, me with all the administrative stuff that's going to help then when you're doing the forensic deep dive, because you have what you know what you have, and you have a list of what you know you don't have, or you have questions on. I just love that you, again, it's action oriented. It's giving people the tools. What do you find to be in forensic accounting and divorce to be like the top 2 or 3 mistakes people tend to make?
The first one is going to be a follow-on to what I just said, and it is not having the facts. If you find that your attorney is getting frustrated with you and not responding to some things, a lot of times what I see is it's because you're voicing concerns, but you aren't having anything to back it up with. And so having the facts and having the documents that you need is your first step to really getting your attorney to pay attention and for you to potentially get resolution of the issue. So that's one big mistake. The next big mistake follows along with that, not having that information. You need your statements. Even if you don't think there's any fraud, even if you don't think there's going to be any problems with the money, I want you to have all your account statements, because that is how you get to understand your money. And I don't think you can make an informed settlement in your divorce until you fully understand the money. So those are the big ones.
Yeah. No, I obviously am I'm shaking my head yes, because I'm 100% on the same page with you. You can't negotiate smartly during your divorce if you don't understand what your marital standard of living is, what is in your accounts, right? and anticipate how that's going to change after divorce. So it kind of plays a part in what you're going to decide during divorce. It's like you really need to do your homework. And I know it probably sounds a little intimidating and overwhelming to people joining us. It's not. Between me with divorce prep and Tracy with getting really granular and finding where the money is, we've laid it all out for you. So please, I'm going to be linking her account. That's, I mean, it's like hiring a personal trainer. Like, you know, like we're going to tell you exactly what to do, and we're even going to say take a water break. So to that, I would love to actually jump in. Go ahead, Tracy. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, one of the things that I think probably a lot of our listeners have experience with is the other side of the divorce, pushing you to make decisions on things, pushing you, even if it's not to fully settle the divorce right now, agree to certain things on a temporary basis or settle certain issues as you go through. And so, again, like we said, if you don't have all the information, you really shouldn't be making those decisions and agreeing to those things, because you're not fully aware of what it's going to do to you down the road, and you can't appreciate the full impact of it if you don't have all the information. And someone that I work with who calls herself a divorce financial strategist, Rhonda Nordyke of the Women's Financial Wellness Center, has this great thing that she loves to say in these negotiations. I am happy to make a swift decision after I have all the information. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yes.
I'm happy to make a swift decision after I have all the information.
I think you're touching on something that actually is critical for people to keep in mind. Look, I'm always preaching you need to separate the emotional side of divorce from the business side. They're two different things, and you don't want your emotions guiding you as you make decisions and choices during divorce. And sometimes that can look like, I just want to bury my head in the sand and I'm going to agree to everything. Don't do it. Like I said, you can't do a do-over in divorce. You need to be your own best advocate. You're a team with your divorce professionals, right? I know it's a lot. It's, if you're raising a family, you've got an outside job. If you don't have an outside job, you're juggling so much as it is. I'm telling you, it's temporary, but it's going to be worth it. The stakes are too high. Tracy, I want to actually jump in and ask, what are the best ways for people to prepare? I know it's kind of going over a little bit what you said, but if you can expand on the best ways to prepare in advance of hiring a forensic accountant, like what are the steps that people should actually do?
Right. The first step is to protect yourself. That's getting a new email address, changing passwords on social media accounts and on bank accounts. Then it's gathering your financial information. So I tell people, any financial information that you have in the house, make copies, put those copies in a safe place. Anything you have access to on a computer, make a copy of, put it in a safe place. Any bank accounts or investment accounts that, or credit cards that you have access to online that you can legally log into because your name is on the account, log in, download everything that they have. Put that all in a safe place. If you never look at it, God bless you. I hope you look at it. But what we're doing at this point is getting that information and making it safe in case we need it, because it's so much easier as we go through this divorce process if we're not backtracking and trying to get something and then finding out that you're locked out of an account or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's really smart. And I'm going to make sure that I'm going to keep all these great points that you've been sharing with us in bite-sized nuggets that'll be in the caption that will follow this reel when it becomes a reel after a live. I just want to jump in really quickly. There were a couple questions that got dropped in. First by CC Call, is it difficult to find out if money has been taken to Costa Rica?
So it depends. If it's cash that someone was taking in a bag and running off to Costa Rica, that's hard. But what I will say is many times we can see them taking that cash out of a bank account. Mm-hmm. So the people who are really at risk with this are people whose spouses work in cash-based businesses where they could swipe that cash and we'd never know. Mm-hmm. For most people with regular jobs that have regular paychecks and stuff, if someone was taking cash to Costa Rica, they'd have to get their hands on that cash somehow. And that would be going to the bank and doing a withdrawal, going to an ATM and doing a withdrawal, or taking their paycheck and not depositing the whole thing. And so usually we can see some signs, unless you've got a spouse or partner who is in a cash-based business, then it's much harder.
Okay, and then actually, I just have a second question to that. What if you have a spouse who has their own business, right? And how do you prepare to try and, because, you know, sometimes people might say they claim a loss, I'm not making anything, and those things can be absolutely a legal tax write-off, but they can still count towards income. So what do you do if your spouse has their own business?
It gets more complicated, and what we see when someone has a business is they get something I like to call the divorce flu, where suddenly the business isn't making money anymore, the business is a little sick, but it's the divorce flu, and judges understand this. They know that people going through divorce sometimes try to tank their income so that they don't have to pay alimony and child support. So it's more difficult. What we do in cases with a business is we make sure to get the last few years of financial statements, the last tax returns, bank statements, get the accounting records. Will you be able to go through them on your own? It depends if you have any prior experience looking at them. You might, that's an area you might need some help in. And if the business is big enough and worth enough money, that money spent on professionals will be worth it.
Yeah, that absolutely sounds like it, because it can kind of feel like you're reading routing instructions when you look through, like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Business tax returns. But again, I know it sounds overwhelming. You can break it down so that it's not so intimidating. Tracy has all of those tips and steps for you. And when it comes to preparing the administrative stuff, I have all that. Pair it together. It's like peanut butter and
the dream team.
Exactly.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter and chocolate, all of the good stuff. So if somebody wants to work with you, or if somebody wants to purchase your brilliant book, how can they do so?
They can find my brilliant book, Find Me the Money, at findmethemoney.com. They can find the Divorce Money Guide at fraudcoach.com. It's right there on the front page, and I say fraud coach because I am your fraud coach during your divorce. And the Divorce Money Guide is simply watch some videos, get your statements, find your money. So yeah, reach out. My email is on the website. You can reach out with questions. You can DM me here. You know, if I don't get back to you right away, it's only because I haven't seen it. Please be patient.
I know she actually is a highly sought after forensic accountant. So it's like, it might take her a beat, but she will get back to you, because the truth of the matter is, when you reach out to either myself or to Tracy, that's who's going to respond to you. Like, we're actually living, breathing people who are doing this and running all of our accounts. I have another question from CC. How do you gain access to accounts only statements? So that was the extent of it. If you could, does that make enough sense to be able to answer from?
I did see that. It does make enough sense. I get asked questions. So if your name is on an account, you have legal access to it. So you can get into it online. You should be able to get your own login. If your spouse has said, oh, I changed the password, I'm not telling you what it is, you should be able to get your own login. If for any reason your bank is saying you can't have a login to that, if your name is on that account, you can take your ID to a bank branch, prove who you are, and say, please give me access and give me the statements. And there might be a little fee for it, but you can always get access to it. The other way is, in the divorce process, your attorney can send a subpoena to the banks. And so whether your name is on the account or your spouse's name is on the account, it doesn't matter. They can send a subpoena and get those records directly from the bank. So don't ever be worried. If you don't have access to an account right now, but you know it exists, one of the things that we do, and I bet they do it in your program too, is make a list of all the accounts. What bank, if they know the account number, write down the account number. If they don't know the account number, I always say just write the bank name down, write down that you know that there's an account, so that your attorney can always follow up on that.
Yes, I love that. And I actually have a what together worksheet that's available on my website. If you download it, it walks you through every, idea of what you should be trying to get your hands on. And it has a space also for you to list what you can't get your hands on, right? So you have both right at your fingertips, which is great, because then you hand it right over to Tracy if you need to work with her. Speaking of Tracy Tysinger said, I've subpoenaed bank accounts hoping I can locate money. That's fantastic. You took action. I love hearing that. Cece followed up with, what happens if accountant is hiding money for self-employed spouse? That's a great question.
So we do run into problems where there is an accountant and they are protecting your spouse. It gets hard. They have, if they are actually hiding money, like they have money, I don't know if that's what you're asking, they have money that belongs to you and your spouse, that is BS. We will need to prove somehow that money went to that accountant so that we can try to get it back, but that would be involve, going through those account statements and seeing, hey, there was a transfer of $25,000 to this accountant. We at least now have proof that something happened that we can dig into. If it's a matter of the accountant is doing something like will not give you the tax returns, I find that happens. Your spouse or the accountant holds those tax returns hostage, you can go directly to the IRS and get them all on your own without any intervention from your spouse. So it's great.
That's
so
my favorite.
There are ways. There are ways. When the accountant is being shady, there are still ways.
I love it. Thank you. I mean, just hearing that, I think, is going to be putting a lot of people at ease. I think that's the biggest thing. Knowledge is power. Now that you've heard it straight from forensic accountant Tracy Coenen, you know what to do. You know what to do. So I just want to say thank you. We've come up on 20 minutes. This has been such an informative conversation. I hope it's the first of many.
So too, we could go for hours. I mean, literally, we joke about peanut butter and jelly or peanut butter and chocolate. Actually, peanut butter and chocolate sounds a little bit better, but it's so true. What we do follows on with one another so well. I am a huge proponent of planning because you save yourself money in the long run. If you have a strategy and if you do some of your own legwork, you can save yourself thousands of dollars in legal fees, Tracy, easily.
Thank you for saying that. That's my jam. That's the whole reason I'm here. And I would just say to anybody who's joined us today, please keep a lookout. Tracy and I are talking about a collaboration in the next couple of months. So we'll let you know when that is official and gets announced with a date. But in the meantime, Tracy, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out to have this conversation today. And thank you to everybody who joined us.
I am so grateful for the mission that you have with the work that you're doing, and you are impacting so many people. And I just thank you for having me. It was a fun talk, and we'll do it again.
Thank you, Tracy. We will, for sure. Everybody enjoy the holiday weekend. Thank you for joining us.